right, let's just dive right into it. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to explore a psychological framework designed to combat something almost all of us face at some point, and that is profound modern exhaustion. I mean, we live in this era of endless notifications, crushing responsibilities, and just constant pressure. And sometimes it honestly just feels like way too much. But what if the cure for this very modern burnout was actually written down thousands of years ago by literally the most powerful man on Earth? Let's get started.
So, are you completely tired of life? I mean, be really honest with yourself here. We all hit a breaking point. You know those mornings you wake up, you stare at the ceiling, and you just feel this overwhelming, incredibly heavy sense of exhaustion deep in your bones? It's that heavy burden of feeling like you're stuck on an endless treadmill that absolutely never stops. You're just burned out by the endless responsibilities, the constant negativity in the news, and, let's face it, the difficult people you have to deal with day in and day out. Because what we're talking about right now isn't just a lack of sleep, right? It's a profound weariness of the soul. And when that dark cloud settles over you, the temptation to just give up is massive. You kind of just want to pull the covers up over your head, completely shut out the world, and retreat into isolation. And the danger is, if you give in to this exhaustion, you start to resent the hand you've been dealt. You get bitter. You start believing your situation is uniquely terrible and that the universe is actively working against you. It completely robs you of your potential.
Now, let's shatter a massive illusion right here. If you think you're the only one who has ever felt this exhausted, you're dead wrong. Meet Marcus Aurelius. He was the emperor of Rome and the most powerful man on earth at the time. But guess what? Power absolutely did not cure his depression. His life was brutally difficult. He had to bury far too many of his own children. He witnessed devastating plagues and horrific floods. He spent years, literally years, fighting grueling wars. And on top of that, he was betrayed by the people closest to him. He was surrounded by the corrupt and the inept. So he was unquestionably in pain, he was tired, and he was frustrated. He found himself, as we all do sometimes, completely tired of life.
And here's a pretty jarring fact that really acts as a pattern interrupt for how we view history. Back in ancient Rome, suicide was actually a relatively accepted route for leaders who were facing ruin or just unbearable hardship. It was culturally understood as a legitimate way out. But despite this cultural norm, and despite the profound, totally unimaginable tragedies he faced, Marcus Aurelius chose a different path. He didn't give up. He didn't blame anyone, and he didn't resent the painful cards he was dealt. He chose to stay.
And how he did it is exactly what we're looking at today. This is Marcus Aurelius' 6-step playbook. Keep getting out of bed, find beauty in the ugliness, discard your anxiety, do less, ask for help, and retreat to your inner citadel. Let's walk through each one of these.
Step 1. Keep getting out of bed. Action is the antidote to despair. You know, even the emperor of Rome literally argued with his lazy side under the blankets. He wanted to hit the ancient equivalent of the snooze button just like the rest of us, but he forced himself into motion to do his duty as a human being. Action builds your life.
Step 2. Find beauty in the ugliness. Look at the world with a poet's eye.
Because when we're tired of life, we tend to only focus on the negative, right? Everything just looks totally bleak. But when everything looks bleak, that's exactly when you need to actively search for the opposite. In his private journal, what we now call his meditations, Marcus made these beautiful observations about the mundane world around him. He noticed the flecks of foam on a wild boar's mouth. He saw the way wheat bends low under its own weight. He paid attention to the furrowed brow of a lion, and even the simple, satisfying way bread cracks open in the oven. He proves that even in profound pain and exhaustion, there's always something around you right now that can make you smile, if you just pay attention to it.
Let me pause here for a second and ask you a direct question. What are you blaming your anxiety on today? Is it your boss, the economy, the crazy traffic on your commute? We absolutely love to point fingers at external events when we feel overwhelmed. But what if I told you that your exhaustion and your stress aren't actually coming from any of those things?
Which brings us to step 3. Discard your anxiety. So during the Antonine Plague, which was this horrific pandemic that killed millions of his people, Marcus Aurelius had this massive psychological breakthrough. He wrote, "Today I escaped anxiety." Or no, I discarded it because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not outside. The profound truth here is that anxiety is entirely generated by your own mind. And because you are the one creating it through your own judgments, you have the supreme power to just discard it. You are the one in control.
Step 4. Do less. Simply ask, is this essential?
When we're burned out, it's almost always because we're carrying far too much.
And there's a really sharp contrast here between modern expectations and Stoic reality. Modern hustle culture tells you to carry the weight of the world, say yes to absolutely everything, and just constantly grind. We do things out of habit, out of guilt, or, let's be real, just a desire to please people we don't even like. But the Stoic reality is way different. Ask, is this necessary? And brutally cut out what isn't. When you eliminate the inessential, you get this amazing double benefit. You finally have time to breathe, and you do the essential things much, much better.
Step 5. Ask for help. You do not have to be a lone wolf.
I know this totally goes against modern pride, but it is not a sign of weakness to admit you're struggling. It's not a failure to say, hey, I'm carrying too much and I'm tired. Marcus famously wrote that we should be like a soldier storming a wall. If you have a limp and you can't scale that wall alone, it is perfectly okay to reach up and have a comrade pull you over. So what? Even the supreme ruler of the Roman Empire, a guy with literal absolute authority, leaned on his friends, his partners, and professionals. Don't let your pride isolate you when you're tired. Lean on the resources and the people you have available to you.
And finally, step 6. Retreat to your inner citadel, because you really don't need an expensive vacation to escape.
When the outside world is just too loud, the demands are too high, and people are being cruel, you might think you need to literally run away. But there's a peace you can access immediately without going anywhere at all. It's this concept of the inner citadel, a psychological fortress of stillness right within your own soul. Marcus reminded himself that to shrug off every annoyance and reach utter stillness is child's play if you just retreat inward. Look, it's perfectly understandable and entirely acceptable that you are tired. You are allowed to take a motionless moment, clear your mind, rest, recover, and just exist inside this safe space.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to remember this awesome perspective from Marcus. Life's blazing fire turns everything thrown into it into fuel and brightness. Life is incredibly difficult. It's filled with unfairness, massive obstacles, and profound weariness. Marcus Aurelius knew this better than anyone in history. But instead of letting the fire consume him, he used those obstacles and that unfairness as the exact fuel he needed to soldier on. He used it to burn brighter.
Which brings us to our ultimate takeaway. Stick around. If you're deeply tired of life today, accept it. Rest if you absolutely must. Shrink your focus to what's truly essential, discard the anxiety generated in your own mind, actively look for those small, mundane moments of beauty, and for sure ask for help when you need it. But most of all, just stick around. So, what I want to leave you with is this. Which of these 6 strategies are you going to use today to finally step off that treadmill and start building your inner citadel? Think about that as you go forward. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.